So welcome. Let me see if I can pin myself so that everybody else is, yeah. So you can either keep your cameras on or off, certainly keep your mics off, and welcome to 2024. Happy new now. The new now. So just notice how it feels to join this virtual meeting. Different parts of the world, different faces, different bodies, different time zones, different nows. Just allow yourself to land, to ground in your body. And if this is difficult, see if you can find even the smallest part of you that feels settled. Doesn't have to be the whole of your body. Doesn't have to be any specific part, but just start there. Start at a little small bit of you that resonates with a sense of grounded presence. And then see if you can begin to expand from that space. Inviting each and every cell, each and every part of the co-joining body to join in this sense of grounded presence. And maybe you might be aware that perhaps more of your body is now feeling a little bit more settled. And there's still some twinges, some aspects of the body that maybe aren't quite so on board with it, and that's fine. So much of this journey in the human body is about balancing the paradoxes, balancing the contrasts in between grounded presence and alert contraction. And notice that if we stay away from labeling either as favorable or unfavorable, good, bad, negative, positive, welcome, unwelcome, if we stay away from the tendency to label direct experience as anything other than what it is, or what the sensations tell us, then we don't appear to have a problem. Everything is fine. So if you were to return now to any part of your body that is feeling some tension, and return it with an open welcome. You're welcome here. I want to know you. Notice how that feels for this sensation in your body to not to automatically be labeled as a nuisance or something that's not welcome. And if we wanted to, we could even get curious about what this sensation wants from us, what its message is for us. Notice how in IFS we have these fantastic 8 C's and fantastic 5 P's. And each of those can serve as a gateway to more expansion, more relaxation. So the gateway that we used just a moment ago was curiosity. First, we welcomed rather than labeled this sensation in the body. And then we asked it what its message is for us. What is its desire? Notice if there's any micro shifts, any subtle movements of any sensation in the body that previously may have been perceived as unwelcome, or not as pleasant. And maybe even notice if there was any value judgment that one could place on any sensation that wasn't grounded present. Who was the one that was making that judgment? And we can get curious about that one as well. Notice how, as you're pendulating in between being aware of a part and being aware of the general inner family, what you're really doing is you're zooming in and zooming out. You're pendulating in between being closer to a part and being a little bit further away. Placing your attention on it. And there are a few techniques that we can use to really play. Play is one of the other P's. To play with this, either zooming in and out or sliding along. So if we start with zooming first, let's go back to the sensation in the body that maybe doesn't feel so grounded or present. Maybe there's some tension, maybe there's some contraction, whatever there is. See if you can place your attention right in the center of that sensation. And notice that who is going in itself. Self is spacious, open, accepting, welcoming. So we're leaning in, we're going towards. Notice how it feels for self to be there. Self is always there through self energy. Each part is seeded with self. Self is primal. Self is native to these parts. Just as there's a little seed of yin in the yang and a little seed of yang in the yin, each part is seeded with this self energy, whether the part is aware of it or not. That's the baseline here. Self is native to our parts being. And let's see if we can go back and really place self within the part, in the part of your body that is feeling some discomfort. And notice how it feels to radially, so in a circular fashion, to move outwards or zoom out. Zooming all the way out to the edges of your body, the edges of your individual self. And sometimes it might help to synchronize this with the breath. So placing self intimately close within the part that's calling out for love, that's calling out to be seen. And then as you breathe in and expand the chest, notice how it feels to zoom out the focus to the edges of your physical body. And as you breathe out, notice yourself coming back in and zooming back into the part. So when we're zooming in with the part, we're noticing ourselves very intimately at one with it. It's as though if we were able to look at this part or this sensation under a microscope, like a curious scientist. We really want to get to know the nuance, the threads of this sensation. And then as we're zooming out and expanding, we're bringing in more breath, more self-energy, more chi, more prana. More awareness. And notice if the sensation or the part of yourself is able to receive this extra support, extra nourishment. So by zooming in and out, we're gaining perspective, one of the other P's of self. When we zoom in, we are very close to the part, very intimately letting it know that we're here, closer than close, closer than the breath. And then when we're zooming out, we're gaining the perspective of the space that is here. And can your part see this? Can your part tune into the sense of the vastness, the spaciousness? Every time you breathe in, every time you breathe out, pendulating in between these two perspectives. You stay here for a moment, playing with this curious perspective. Zooming in, zooming out. Notice how the rhythm of this pendulating back and forth, this movement, this dance, is the echo of the universal dance. Your heartbeat dances to this rhythm. Your breath dances to this rhythm. At one end of this scale, we have stillness. At the other end of this scale, we might have chaos. And in between, there's this dance. And somewhere in the middle, we can find that harmonious flow. Find that playfulness, the ability to switch perspective. And even before we attend to any of the other C's or P's, even before we do anything about compassion, notice how just with curiosity, playfulness, and perspective, that in itself is already a gateway to being able to witness ourselves in a different way. For me, curiosity and perspective are really important gateways that allows us to witness ourselves as a part and witness ourselves as a part within self. As not a part. And this is before we apply generous, beautiful compassion. This is before we notice a sense of presence or calm. And you might find that curiosity and perspective and playfulness were indeed the gateways to the other qualities. Notice that each part may have its preferred gateway. So another way of playing with this and gaining a different sense of perspective is sliding along. This is the slider technique, and this exercise you can either continue with the same sensation or the same part, or we can choose a different one. And here we're introducing the possibility that self and part are on a continuum. They're not separate. And imagine at one end of this scale, let's call that 0, there's part. And at the other end of the scale, let's call that 10, there's self. So as you slide closer in to the part or to the sensation that you're working with, notice what is present here. What are you aware of? And remember that by the sheer fact that self-energy permeates all the parts, you're not truly separate from it. But imagine that on the slider, you could get more closer to the part and notice it from its unique vantage point of view. So as you slide along this scale from 0 to 10, notice how the perspective shifts from part to a blend of both, and then sliding along to self, that panoptic view, spaciousness. And if your part finds this hard, if this is difficult, maybe just even notice where on that scale your part would be now, or the sensation in your body would be now. Is it closer to 0, which is that kind of perspective of the part? It's a little bit more limited. Or is it closer to 10, where we have that spacious perspective of self that is not only aware of the part, but the entire inner family? Maybe notice where this part is. Is it a 2? Is it 5? Is it 7? And can you sense that wherever the slider is placed at for this part, for this sensation in the body, that's perfectly fine? Self would never attempt to keep sliding it further and further up as a way of forcing self. By invite, invites these parts to play, if they want, to slide along. So wherever you land, wherever this part is at, just notice it. And then offer the opportunity. Again, curiosity is such a fantastic gateway into playfulness. And both of those really allow us to witness different perspectives in our inner world. Invite your part maybe to shift one up or shift one down, or even just to stick a toe out to either side. And notice how different parts in the inner world would land at different points. Maybe the unburdened parts are closer to 10. Just notice how it is for you. And maybe your parts didn't even know that there was access to being able to zoom in, zoom out, slide in, slide out. This is child's play. Your entire being is right now pulsing to the rhythm of life. And parts are no exception. Notice how it feels here to have the possibility of zooming in or sliding. And if your parts were able to play and slide along to 10, notice how it feels to be in that spaciousness, that expansion, openness, unconditional welcome. And is it possible for them to sense that this is their home? Notice how when they're all the way up at 10, they don't disappear. They are still here in the spaciousness. With self, as self. And can they attune to their own seed of self, self energy? And can they attune how that connects them? Maybe a beautiful golden thread from the part center to this spaciousness within. How can anything get lost when it's all connected? Where is there to get lost? And if we do momentarily get lost, is it possible to zoom out and be found within this watchful, ever-present, loving gaze of self? Or to slide, get closer, closer to self, closer than your breath. Notice how the gateways were curiosity to playfulness to perspective. And then when we perceive ourselves, when a part perceives itself as not separate from self, that's when we're home. That's when we tune into this nectar, this sweetness of self. It's a little bit like taking blinkers off or wiping away sleepy dust from the eyes and seeing with clarity. Seeing that, yes, this has been our home all along. It's like trying to hide in the corner of a round house. Where is there a corner of a round space? So the perspective of self helps the parts feel that self is home and that they are at home in self, as self. They were hidden in plain sight. No, the innocence. This is what's so beautifully innocent of these parts. For those of you who've seen young children play hide and seek, very little ones, they think that by closing their eyes, they are hidden. You might have seen this. And then we have to say, no, 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 darling, you actually have to go and hide. This is the innocence. This is the innocence. These parts believe that when they close their vision to self, that they are hidden from self. But how can that be? Where is there to hide in a space that is filled with luminosity, with awareness, with attunement? Notice how it feels to be. Maybe you've had a glimpse, maybe there's some sweetness. That wonderful innocence of a young child thinking that it's invisible or hidden when its eyes are shut. But self is happy to play this game. Self is here, witnessing all of it. Self doesn't say, I'm afraid, darling, we can't play this game because it's not how it is. No, self allows parts to have their own unique perspective. Self is like the Tao. It nourishes all, it supports all, unconditionally loves all, but doesn't lord it over them. Doesn't expect anything in return. Self knows, trusts that at one point the parts will open their eyes and see the beauty. That they have always been immersed in. And then when parts see beauty, who do they see but themselves? They see their own beauty. And they look within and see, oh gosh, self-energy has always been here. Yes, I am this. I've always been this. And yet no time has been wasted. I'm in the northern hemisphere and we're just noticing snowdrops surfacing, love awakening to itself. They've been hidden under layers upon layers of earth, dark earth. It's been snowing, it's been cold, it's hailed, and it's been sunny and pleasant and all the things. But finally, after months of being underground, they surface. Has their time spent beneath the earth been a waste of time? Is there any hurry? You know, there's that fantastic Lao Tzu quote, nature doesn't hurry and yet everything is accomplished. Whose time are we on? To whose beat are we all dancing to? And these are just some more lofty and esoteric ways of sliding along, zooming along, expanding into a larger view. Something that I think curiosity, perspective, and playfulness does so beautifully. So notice how this sensation that we started off in the body, or a part that you've been getting to know, how that is now. And maybe signal to this part and any other parts that we're going to transition into a sharing circle now. And everything is by invite here. So just before we finish, see if you can return to the breath. Notice the body on the chair. Grounded presence, however that shows up, even in the smallest part of your body. And you can, when you're ready, open your eyes and orient around your room. Beautiful. Thank you.